morning. I want to echo the sentiments of my colleague, Pastor Jose. Wish you all a very merry and blessed Christmas. It's really good to be together. And it's actually a beautiful day outside. We had a little bit of snow last night just to give a little whiteness to our Christmas, but not enough to make it dangerous, so we're happy for that. And now we have this beautiful day to celebrate. It's sunny. Maybe you have plans for today. I'm sure you do. And I pray that you have safe travels. It's a good day to be together and to celebrate. It's been a tough year. Or am I not allowed to mention that? I am allowed to mention that. But you know, it's Christmas. And we like Christmas to be nice. We want to think about the beauty of Christmas and anticipate the day. And we kind of want to, I don't know, sometimes it feels to me like we want to take Christmas and it becomes a day outside the rest of our experience as people living in these times, right? It becomes a day when we say, oh, but today's Christmas, so nothing bad should happen today. We think maybe I was remembering in the recesses of my brain this wonderful story that in 1914, during the trench warfare of World War I, on Christmas Day, the two sides actually stopped fighting for the day, came out of their trenches, met one another in the middle, traded goods with one another, shared stories, sung Christmas carols together, Germans and English together. Right in the middle of the war, they suspended all of that hostility and death to remember that they were human beings together. It only happened once in that way. Things deteriorated as the war wore on. But there was that one moment in the midst of all the turmoil and struggle where people put aside their differences and recognized the need to just be human beings with one another. It's so simple, isn't it? What gets in the way? What is it that keeps us from remembering that God has given us, as we read in the first chapter of John, this wonderful gift of life to just be human beings with one another, to just be children of God together. And this day reminds us of the importance of that, of our being created for that very purpose. And yet, then the bad stuff keeps in. And I've been thinking over the past few days, I've kind of had this sermon title floating through my head that I'm sorry messes with your day a little bit and messes with mine. The sermon title is, What Has Bethlehem to Do with Newtown? What has one to do with the other? We see that same tension in some of our Christmas carols, do we not? Christ was born for this. Now you need not fear the grave. Jesus Christ was born to save. That the very reason we celebrate this day is because of its redemptive power in our lives and in this world. The very reason we celebrate the birth of Christ is because of its deep significance and deep answer to our deep need to find that redemption and peace, that simple joy of just being human beings together to one another. Letting all those animosities that somehow develop, all those grudges that we for some reason carry around with us, even when we tell ourselves that it's not necessary or healthy, we still carry them around. We just have to let them go. And it's so hard for us to do that sometimes because we forget. We forget that we are really all the family of God. Despite differences in our individual families and in the human family, we all belong to God. What has Bethlehem to do with Newtown? Absolutely everything. As God seeks to remind us of God's love in the midst of the darkness, God's light in the midst of the hatred, God's presence in the midst of the hurt. So I asked Nancy this morning as she was lighting all these beautiful candles to remember to light the Paschal candle. What has the Christ candle in the center of our Advent wreath to do with the Paschal candle that stands behind our baptismal font? Everything. For God holds everything together in one piece. Jesus Christ comes to redeem us from the hurt and the pain and the loss, to promise us something better, to remind us most fundamentally of how precious we are to God no matter what. That the message really is a simple one, of God's continued presence in our lives, God's continued kindling of hope when we feel none, God's promise of restoration, of light in the darkness. Or another way to ask the question, what has John 1 got to do with John 14? What has this beautiful creation story, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, have to do with John 14, in which Jesus, just before his own crucifixion, says to his disciples, "Do not let your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid. I go and prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and take you to myself, so that where I am, you may be also." Christmas, Good Friday, Easter are one celebration of the history and the mystery of salvation that God plants into our human hearts, into our human lives. They live side by side. This need and this redemption, this new birth that was Jesus's into human history and that will be ours into the eternity of God. They are one celebration, one hope, one promise, one reality for the people of God, for this broken earth, that someday there will be the restoration of all things. And we want to make it complicated, and we want to ask those deep questions as we must. But the answer is not complicated. God continues to bring life and light and hope into the world. And it's simple and joyful. That's why kids love Christmas so much, because they get it. As we prepared for Christmas over the past Sundays of Advent, I would talk to them about the kids, and I ask them almost every Sunday, "So what are you looking forward to?" And one little guy, so beautiful, he says, "Presents. I need more presents." And I know exactly how he feels, right? We need more presents. Whatever form they might take, we need more of those gifts that come to us. Not because we deserve it, but because it's just fun to get gifts. Because we like to know that we're special to the person that took the time to give us that gift. And maybe today your day will be filled with gifts. As I was walking over this morning, on this beautiful morning, I saw cars driving by early in the morning. I like to imagine that their trunks were full of presents because they were going to see people that they loved, and there was going to be lots of joy around their Christmas celebration. Or maybe the present that you're looking for is just a gift of one another. Maybe you already have it now. To think about the person next to you, to think about the people that you'll spend the day with, and to give thanks for the present that they are, for the gift of them that God has given into your life. It's really pretty simple, isn't it? It's often not as complicated as we make it. But these two things are held together in one piece: the grace of God and our deep need. God gives us Bethlehem because too often our life is like Newtown. God gives us Christmas so that we can be prepared for the glory and beauty of Easter. As I was sitting quietly in my office before the service began this morning, our carillon went off, and I thought, oh great, what kind of Christmas carol will it play? And it played this one. See if you know this Christmas carol. Come you faithful, raise the string of triumphant gladness. No? You're not like joining in on that Christmas carol. It's not a Christmas carol, right? It's an Easter hymn. I guess our carillon is a little bit off. But I thought, how cool is that? The Holy Spirit must be messing with the carillon to play an Easter hymn on Christmas Day. To remind us that the birth is for the purpose of the death and resurrection. Take John 1:1-14 home with you. Read it again. In him was life, and the life was the light of all people. Life and light, peace, joy, and hope. These are the qualities of Christmas that keep us hopeful, that remind us of who we are and what this world can and one day will be by the grace of God. Well, as I mentioned to you during our Advent services, our little kids, they get it right. And so today I wanted to share a video with you because the kids can tell the story so beautifully and so simply. This is from St. Paul's Anglican Church in New Zealand. I love the accents on the kids. Even if you don't understand what they say, it doesn't really matter. But I also want you to watch the expression on the kids' faces as they retell for us the Christmas story. So give me a minute to get this set up.
Mary was really scared when the angel came to her. There was one main angel called Gabriel. He was just a boy angel. She had wings and she was all white. The angel said, "You're gonna have a special baby." And it was God's son. She was quite excited. A bit scared. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, you're gonna have the son of God." And then she was like, "I can't, I'm not married and stuff." Joseph, he was a builder. Mary told Joseph that she was having a baby called Jesus and it was God's son. He was like, "What?" Then Joseph saw the angel in a dream. I think Joseph was really scared. And then they went to Bethlehem. On a donkey. It would be quite hot. She had a baby in her tummy and she would have been really heavy. She said, "Can we stop eating with these cows?" They had to try and find somewhere for Mary to have the baby. They went around a whole neighbourhood. Everyone said no in an angry voice because it was the middle of the night. The last innkeeper, he said, "Yeah, there's a barn type thing around the back." They had to go to a barn and have their baby. It had sheets. It was like all hay and animal poop and sheep and things. Mary put baby Jesus in one of those troughs. They call the baby Jesus and they loved him. He has two daddies, God and Joseph. They both needed to look after the baby. The angel told the shepherds to follow the star. There was 3 kings. They followed the star all the way to where Jesus was born. When they get to the stable, they go through Jesus the presents. And then they got some angels as visitors too. And then there was a giant star. everyone was there. Then there was a party.